Hi everyone. All right, the first thing I'm going to do is just do a quick sound check while I straighten up the mess, the utter confusion and mess that my desk is right now. So let me know if the sound is okay. The kitties have all started running around and jumping up on things and getting their claws, come here, getting their little claws stuck in things. Gee, is it Friday night by any chance? All right, come here, Modi, you can sit right here. Come here. Trying to convince one of the cats that he can sit somewhere other than on top of my journal. Wish me luck with that. Adele, okay, it sounds good to you. Um, Super free hugger. Forgot your name. I'll look it up. It's probably maybe Tina. Darn it. Why can't I remember names? I'm so terrible. I'm looking it up. Don't tell me. Oh, that's B. Oh, B. Why am I never... if I had seen Beautiful Sky, I would have known who it was. Um, Layla, you're trying to be a mom too? Um, that is a detailed drawing, isn't it? Hi, Judy. Hi, Adele. Hi, everyone. Um, yeah, I meant to do a review of this coloring book a few weeks ago, and I never did get a chance to. So when I realized this week I hadn't done it, I thought, well, that's a good time to do, because I wanted to do a live stream about coloring book pages. So I figured it would be good to do on that. Whoops. On this same show. Look familiar, Layla? This is the awesome pencil that Layla sent me, and I just stuck a big eraser on it because I have to have a big eraser um, on the end of my pencil. And I like the weight um, of having something heavy on the end of it. All right, so let me clean up my mess. I have so much stuff out. It's been a crazy day. I will go ahead and tell for those of you who haven't seen it yet on my Facebook page, or you're not in one of my groups where I'm chit-chatting about it all the time, I launched my Patreon for the first time today. Didn't realize that it was Black Friday when I did it. I'm completely not in touch with that type of thing because I don't go out and go do, a bunch of shopping um, like that. So completely forgot about the fact that it was, technically Black Friday when I launched it. But hey, and basically what I'm going to do is last year, almost 2 years ago now, because we're at the end of the year, I had a class called Obsessions, and it was very much well received. A lot of my students really loved it. And when it came to an end, I think in like October of 2014, I didn't it was very labor intensive to set the class up each month and then to have everybody kind of come in and get set up and figure out where the classroom was and just so much stuff. And I got just overwhelmed with it. And so for 2015, I didn't really even bring it back. So I wanted to bring it back, and I didn't really want to do another 30 days. I couldn't even really get excited about the 15 days because I knew that all of that required that whole setup of a class and maintaining all of it. So I actually ended up deciding to do the 15 faces in the ArtGeeks. So anyone who is a member of ArtGeeks, and ArtGeeks is just like $25 for the entire year, not per month, but just for the whole year. So anyone who is in that is going to be getting all of the content that would have gone into the 15 Faces class. We'll just do it in there, and we'll start doing that in December of this year. And then for the Patreon, I decided to turn that basically into the Obsessions class. So every week you get about an hour and a half to sometimes a little more hours worth of real-time instruction. So in many ways kind of like this. Um, and it's generally got faces in it. Often I will add in florals, that type of thing, but it's really oriented around um, the things that I'm currently obsessed with, and generally that kind of stuff is usually um, new materials, how to get your money's worth out of materials. So, for instance, like colored pencils, I've been doing a ton of stuff with colored pencils lately. None of it is the right way to use them or the traditional way to use them. I just use them in any way, as many ways as I can possibly think of to use them to try to get, my money's worth out of them. So that's kind of what Obsessions is like. But it's also, for the most part, very detail oriented around the style of art journaling that I do. So lots of layering, lots of transparency, um, stencils, just all the stuff you normally see me do in my journals. And if you're still not sure about what Obsessions classes are like and you want to find out, if you go to my Patreon, and it's really super easy link, it's just patreon.com/golfsprite. I'll type it into the chat here really quickly. So it's hi, Jeffra. Oh, you have to leave. Bye. Um, hi, bye, as my dad says to me when I come into the house and go straight to my mom's sewing studio. He says to me, hi, bye. um, Also, hello to Kelly and someone else I saw. Oh, Haley. Hi, Haley. Okay, anyway, so I put an actual full lesson from the original Obsessions classes. The most popular class, I had two really, well, I had several really, they were all kind of popular, but anyway, diaphaneity was the one that was about layering and transparency, and it was pretty popular. And so I asked some of my friends to tell me, of the different lessons from that month, which one did they like the most. And lesson number two, which would basically be like week two, was the one they liked the most. So that's the one I put up there for free. So yeah, Layla, even if you have or haven't taken any of the classes, if you didn't see the diaphaneity and you didn't see lesson two, then you can get that for free just by going to my Patreon page. You don't even have to sign up for it. Um, but that's it. That's out there. Got that out of the way. So what I want to talk about, a couple of things. I'm gonna talk about this first just because it's kind of big and I can get it off my table. But also because this book and the person who created this book actually means quite a lot to me. So, and I did in fact tell her that I was going to be, I'm going to keep that in there. There's actually a reason for that to be in there. Sorry. I had told her a few weeks ago that I was going to show everyone this book. Basically, the artist that created this is, her name is Linda East, which is right here. And Linda is what I and several other artists refer to as our online mom. Linda is a retired, I think, well, she might not be retired, but she should be retired. Um, she's done enough, but I'm not sure if she's still teaching part-time or not. But basically, she is a university art instructor, and she's also a member of, and I probably won't get the name right, but the Colored Pencil Society of America or something like that. She's a member of that. She actually was a judge for them for one of their annual um, contests or shows or whatever you call it. But probably, let's see, it should be dated as to when this was published. Okay, so in 2010, my friend Linda she got interested in creating coloring books, and she wanted to do what she considered to be technically an adult coloring book. She wanted it, intended it, specifically to be for young women and just women of all ages who loved colored pencil, marker, and wanted something they could color in. So this was like before any adult coloring book craze that's going on now. And so she kind of was on the edge between two different things. She was either going to do just the wild haired ladies, and she has a whole nother style of girls or women that she does that are more like fairies. So she, went back and forth as to which one, but she settled on doing the wild haired ladies. And I'm going to flip it over because on the back of it, you get to see her, and I'm sorry for the glare, her completed art of, like a little snapshot of all the different faces that are in this book. And this is Linda here, by the way. And you can find Linda on Facebook. Just go to, well, let me just, you know what? Let me just paste a link. It's easier that way. Yep, she was definitely ahead of the, definitely a trendsetter, so to speak. But let me get and put in a leak, a link here to Linda. She's really amazing. She lives in Oklahoma City. Layla, I know you live in Oklahoma. She's a really wonderful lady, and she still sells these books. She actually published and self-published and produced these books. She was extremely careful about the paper that she chose, ordering and rejecting quite a lot of it until she was satisfied because she is a colored pencil artist, so she wanted a paper that was going to um, perform extremely well with colored pencil, very specifically. So this is Linda here, that's her link, and you can still purchase this book directly from her. She has quite a lot of them. They were also, I believe, in Hobby Lobby, I think, is where they were for sale. So I don't know if there's still any for sale there or if there are new ones. Um, Okay, so let's see. I'm going to flip this back over and I'm going to show you. I'm going to first go to the very back. Now, I actually have a couple of these books because, Linda was my friend and I kind of helped her work through the process when she was designing this book and, everything like that. So she actually sent me quite a few copies, and I'll show you too that it's pretty awesome. She signed it, which I thought was pretty neat. Now, this particular copy is actually my daughter's copy. Um, my book, I actually have given that away to a little girl who her mom happens to be a good friend of mine, and she has just been diagnosed with uh, I can't think of the name of it, the curvature of the spine. I want to say it's scoliosis. Is that right? Anyway, she has to have some pretty extensive surgery because she has a double curve in her back. Anyway, she's just a sweet and funny, intelligent young girl. So I've actually given her my signed book along with a bunch of colored pencils and some other supplies. And one of my other art friends, um, Micah Flakes. So she comes to the stream, so some of you guys might know what I'm talking about, who I'm talking about. She also sent me some items to give to Hannah as well. So my original copy that I left in pristine condition is actually going to Hannah. But this is my daughter's copy of the book, and I still have another copy too that belongs to my mom. But so my daughter colored in with colored pencil this page, so I thought I would show you guys a bit of a close-up here of this particular page. Whoops, losing the focus for a second there. Sorry about that. All right. So that's the only one that's done in this book, though, because this book was actually in storage for the longest time. But I thought I would show you a little bit more about the book. So on the back of each page, she actually has provided an area for you to put your name and for you to write a story, if you so choose, about the particular wild-haired girl in this. So, in other words, as you are coloring or painting this, you can think up and maybe develop a story that kind of goes along with her. So she's left room for that up there. Another really awesome thing about the fact that the back doesn't have a drawing on it is the fact that if you wanted to use an alcohol marker, so this is a Copic marker right here, you can see it does definitely go through, and I was pretty heavy-handed with it, but my reasoning for that was because I wanted to show that it will go through, but yet the paper is so, you can hear that, is so thick that it takes that type of medium very well. So the reason I have this piece of watercolor paper in here is so that I can protect the next page just in case, because I want to do Copic marker on this particular page. I just haven't had a chance to get started with it, but I thought I would show you kind of a quick pass through of all the pages, if that's okay. There's not that many, so that was phase one, and this is phase two. And I don't know, but I know that that is probably a Chinese or Japanese word or symbol. So this is number two. This is number three. They're very, very intricate and lovely. And I don't think, if you didn't want to do all of the heavy, like, individual areas, you could definitely color this in a multiple of different ways. This is what I think number four. And you can see Linda had a lot of influence on me. I started doing mixed media art in 2008, and I actually met Linda pretty quickly when this was back when you didn't have Facebook, you had like Yahoo forum boards and stuff. And I met Linda very quickly on, very early on in my altered book days before I did any art journaling even. And you can see that she's definitely a heavy influence on me. Um, and although I haven't really looked back at these in the last probably year because they've been in storage, I look at them now and I can see like her use of the stars, her use of the botanicals. I mean, I can see where she's been quite a bit of an influence on me in my art. Oh, okay, Jess. So Copics are supposed to go through. Okay, that makes sense. Well, they definitely do bleed through, but the paper is so nice and thick that it can stand up to them without any pilling or falling apart or anything like that. No tearing or anything. And obviously, she loves butterflies as much as probably many of us love butterflies. My daughter absolutely loves this book. And I kind of had to argue just a tiny bit to get her to let me keep it um, so that I could do the do this show. Um, because once I found it, it was in storage, and once I found it, it was, she was like, "Oh, that one's mine," and I was like, "Well, you can't have it back yet." I'm sorry. So my daughter loves to color with colored pencil. Just a few more, I think. I love this one in particular. I love her use of jewelry. Again, I think probably a big influence on me. Yeah, yeah, it doesn't fight back. It's intended for colored pencil and marker specifically. She tested everything Like I said, she went through multiple papers and manufacturers until she was satisfied with one. And again, I think that's the benefit of having an art instructor slash colored pencil professional artist putting together a book. You kind of get that expertise of her knowledge of paper and um, the materials. All right, and then this one, of course, is the last one, and this is the one that my daughter actually already colored. Um, and then I think, yep, and then that's it. And then she just has a fun little thing here. She says, I'll just read it really quickly. Designed for adults, the Wild-Haired Ladies Coloring Book is meant to be colored with pencil, fine tip permanent marker, or water soluble marker. The sheet above the coloring page provides space to name your wild-haired lady and compose a story about her, or just use it as you wish. For me, this space makes the Wild-Haired Ladies Coloring Book a double creative experience, combining visual art and the written word. Color selection is up to you. I colored the thumbnails on the back cover for inspiration. There are no color rules here. Each image is bordered to accommodate matting and framing. Enjoy, Linda East. She's awesome. All right, so you can get in touch with Linda if you want. Just contact her on Facebook, and she is happy, I believe, to still sell the remaining copies that she has of the book. And if you're interested. And yeah, so let's get on with working with what else you can do with these except for just keep them in the book. Now, obviously, I'm not going to tear any out of this book. It's not my book. um, I will have to get another copy of the book from Linda if I want to take any pages out of it. Um, does anyone, oh, by the way, does anyone have any questions for me about her book? What does matting mean? I don't have a painting around that has a mat on it, but basically when you see a like a watercolor or like a something, even a photograph in a frame, and it has that extra wide, usually generally white or black, but it can be colored, um, thick piece of paper in there or cardboard in there that kind of frames out the painting or picture before the actual frame. That's what matting is, or having it matted. 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 Does that make sense, B? Jess, yeah, the double-sided is kind of sad. And then I see a lot of people saying, oh, well, they're just going to make copies of it and they're going to scan it and make a copy of it and they're just doing it for personal use. And I'm just like, that's actually why when I released mine, I did it digital so that you could print it on whatever type of paper best suited the kind of medium that you were using. Um, yeah, kind of like it's an insert in there that kind of like makes it. Oftentimes you'll see like the frame is really skinny and thin. Yeah, like a border. And then the mat kind of gives it a more bulks it up and makes it look nicer, more quality, especially when you have like a really thin, tiny frame. And then sometimes too, your mat can be textured or it can have like a faint patterning in it, so that it kind of is almost like an accessory to the painting. Oh, people have no idea what they're talking about. Oh, you should talk to Linda. She's totally, I got to be a part of seeing her produce that book, and all the decision making and everything. It was really awesome. For me, as someone who knew nothing, I felt like I was getting an education, just helping her with her process. Okay, so this is the image that you probably saw. I'll show you really quickly, if the computer program will play along. I'll show you, and I don't know if you can hear me or not, so I'm not going to say anything. All right, so I just showed you that's my main cover photo that I use for a lot of my online presence, and it's actually derived. It's just a crop of this page. I think it's about this much of it. It's a crop of this particular page, and quite a few people in either the Gulf Sprite Live or the Art Geeks group, one of the two groups, they were saying that they really loved this. And let's see here just a minute. On the same note, though, $15 for a 100 images. What paper do you expect? Yep, exactly, Jess. That's very true. You do definitely, get what you pay for. That's absolutely for a fact. And oftentimes, it's either quality or it's quantity. Rarely do you get a combination of both. So, all right. So, I wanted to talk a little bit about this. I kind of said something in a comment, just, to explain it away really quickly. But I wanted to show you what I physically meant by what I was saying. So they were saying they wanted me to teach this, that they loved the cropped image that they got to see. They thought it was beautiful. They wanted to learn how to do it. But this is the thing about play and experimenting and being open to anything. Peaches, what are you doing, hon? um, Open to anything when you are creating in your art journals. You get how do I say it? Spontaneous things happen. You do things. You don't pay attention and you don't realize what you're doing, which is what happened here. Kind of, sort of. I mean, I sort of knew it was going to happen, but um, it's not necessarily something that would be easy for me to reteach. And here is an example as to why. And we're going to work with this if we have time, if I don't talk too much. Um, we'll work with it tonight to try to get a little closer to this. But this is my coloring page, one of the coloring pages out of my coloring book. Um, and most of you, I think that was the first live stream that I ever did. I launched this coloring book. I'm just going to show you what I'm dealing with right now. I'm sitting directly right in front of this, and this is what's now just snuck. Oh, you can't hear. She purrs really quiet. Just snuck into my lap while I was talking. Peaches. Peaches, no, sit over there. I'm talking and she doesn't see any people, so she thinks I'm talking to her. Okay, so this is where it can get tricky for a teacher to show off stuff because people ask to learn how to do it. But to be honest with you, half of it was an accident. Half of it is a mess. Um, and it's really hard to kind of go back and try to not figure out how to do it because I know what happened, so I know why it happened. Um, but to figure out how to make it happen and make it work and teach people teach people what like in other words, I have to kind of create a process for it because it didn't happen intentionally. So we'll see if we can recreate a little bit of it tonight. But this is the face, and really only the skin tone colors and stuff was on the front and was intentional. The thing is that makes this so pretty is some of these other colors that are in it here, and the design and everything, and the fact that it's really faded out. That's because this came first and this page came second. And if you'll notice the pattern that you see right along the edge here, that's this right here. That's what caused that. So basically I had put down I don't know, I probably used like a clear, um, this might even be, is this a video? I don't know. I couldn't even tell you anymore. But this is like a clear resist, so probably it is something like this, like a polymer medium gloss, that's my guess, through a stencil, let it dry, and then I put a ton of ink um, and paint down over it. So the ink and paint, more than likely from what I can see from this side of it, I probably sprayed it with some type of a ink. I think this one particular one is yeah, what are they called? Dr. Martin's India ink and water. So ink and water to create a spray, and I probably sprayed over that stencil first, and then I came back and put the, or actually I probably put the polymer down, then sprayed it with ink. That bled through. And then all this other stuff that I've done, constantly wetting the page and wetting the page and wetting the page, caused everything back here to kind of spread out, get a little bit fuzzy and fade and move around. So that's, like why it has that very particular look. And it's really hard to replicate that. So I took this is actually the same image. This is from my coloring book. So I took this particular page from the coloring book, and the first thing I did was put a bunch of spray inks and watercolor on the back of it. Really kind of tried to soak it. And sure enough, it worked. So like all this color here, that all is coming through from the other side. This is coming through. A lot of this, almost her entire purple eye, that's all kind of coming through. Um, Stuff down, whoops, you can't see that stuff down here, the orange. So it did work. You can do it intentionally. And at the time I was doing all of this, I didn't have this in front of me. So I was just kind of trying to remember what it looked like. So I got some things off, like I thought I had grayed out this, and obviously I didn't. But anyway, and plus too, there's no black line outline on this. It's not an illustration, it's a watercolor painting. However, here it's more of an illustration because it's from a coloring book. So, it had to have all the black outlines. So it is going to look a little different. But I think this serves as a good example as to what you can do. Um, yeah, it's just embracing the bleed through, exactly. And it's actually, if you think about it, a technique you can apply on certain papers. Obviously, if you're using heavy watercolor paper, you're not going to get that bleed through. So it's also kind of a testament to the fact that I use more of a sketch weight paper um, than I do okay, kitty off the journal, please. um, than I do a heavy watercolor. Hi, Kathy. So like this is my current journal that I'm trying to finish desperately. And this journal is actually a Royal and Langnickel sketchbook. So it's only 65-pound paper. And if you hit this with spray ink, like we'll go to an empty page. I do still have a few. All right, so here's one I was currently working on. So I'm going to take this blue spray. And then just for the heck of it, I thought I had like, oh, here we go. I've got an orange. I've got an orange one. I think the orange, well, no, I think the orange one is also ink. So I'll put those on there and flip it over. So that's what I get just from, and that's, whoops, and that's not really a heavy spray compared to, what a lot of people do on, their paper, and even got a little bit over here. And that right there is just watercolor coming through. That's not even ink. That's just watercolor. So you can see that it wouldn't necessarily happen, if you were someone who was working with like heavy watercolor paper. So again, it's another one of those things that, um, you know, using different mediums. Like I hear a lot of people or see or read or whatever. A lot of people say that they only use the best, highest quality paper, and they only use watercolor paper, that type of thing. And I'm like, I'm all for that, and I get what they're saying. And in some cases, yeah, me too, especially if I want to do a lot of watercolor. Watercolor, to me, for me, works the best on watercolor paper. But there is something to be said to using cheap paper, because cheap paper generally means thin paper. And sometimes it's expensive paper and it's thin paper. It just depends on what you're buying and why you're buying it and what it's made from. But there is something to be said for it because you can get that kind of an effect or other types of effects just because you're using thin paper. B said Kitty's art will be paw prints. I have a painting. I was doing a series of small textured works on canvas board, and I had just put, um, yeah, I can't think of the words tonight. Um, spackle, which is what I like to use a lot instead of modeling paste or molding paste. I like to use spackle, and I had just put spackle down when she walked straight through. I had two of them sitting here. She walked straight through paw print, right on the edge of the first one, and then right in the middle of the second one. And I already had like all of my texture design done, so I just left it. And I forget what I named the paintings now, but I basically incorporated the fact that there were kitty prints in it into the name of the painting. Because there was no going back at that point. I didn't want to start all over again. Okay, so one of the things clearly that you can do with coloring book pages, especially if you just happen to have digital ones or that type of thing, you can take them and do this type of thing. Now the entire front of this is painted with watercolor. At this point, there's no color pencil yet. There's no anything else. And if we have time, we'll work on the rest of this. But I want to talk about other ways you can use them. So this, because it's loose leaf, I can do anything with it. I can glue it down straight as it is into my journal. I can cut out elements of it that I like and glue just those elements into my journal. Um, Again, I have to get Peaches off of everything. Oh, that time I got lucky. She wasn't really sitting on it. Hi, Denise. Okay, so another thing that you can do, I like some of the journal pages that I see. I actually like them just black and white. I think they're beautiful. Now, I'm going to throw out there that I'm using my own as examples because I don't have any other ones that are digital at this time. And I'm not at this moment anyway prepared to scan off any coloring books. I just don't feel comfortable about that. And I don't have any duplicates yet, so I'm not prepared to rip any pages out yet. I'm still in love with my coloring book pages, but there are always pages that we don't like. You know what I mean? Like you kind of like it, you just don't want to color it in maybe. Um, and then sometimes, just like with scrapbook paper, you buy the whole package and there's 10 that you never seem to use because you're just not that into them. So this technique that I'm going to show you is really kind of for that kind of page. But I'm going to use mine not because, I only want to promote my book or anything, just because that's what I have on hand. So in my older journals, and I did not dig one out, and I apologize for that. Um, B, you can get free pages. One of my favorite artists, who also is, in the whole mixed media art journal online teaching realm is Alyssa Burke, and I know for sure that she's been doing giveaways, um, and she's been doing some free pages, and I think she's got a huge Black Friday week kind of sale. I don't know if it's still on, but I would check it out. It's ALISABURKE. If someone wants to type the link into chat, that would be awesome if you know about Alyssa. And in the Gulf Sprite Live group, if you want to add any links for stuff like that, like places where people can get free pages, good deals on books, or even just good books that you have, that would be awesome. Share that information. So another thing I really love, and I used to do downloadable digital collage sheets that I used to sell. And I used to teach and make, and I still sometimes do make them, um, what I call doodle pages. And so that's a whole technique in and of itself. It's not quite the same as this. But for every one of those things, I inevitably ended up making borders because I love borders. I love to put borders on art journal pages. So I think coloring book pages, especially for the ones that you don't necessarily like the entire thing, or you don't want to um, maybe color the whole thing in or something like that, as a coloring page itself, you could totally do what I'm going to do here, and that is tear a page into border strips. And you just kind of, it's good to have, if you can, to have a clear ruler so you can see kind of where you're making the um, determination. Or you can also measure and say, I'm going to do 1 inch or 2 inches for each coloring page. It's up to you. But I'm just going to kind of eyeball it here through the ruler. Now I like a torn edge. If you don't like a torn edge, you could simply um, use like a craft knife or, as I refer to it, an X-Acto knife. Ooh, Francine says that Michael's has them on sale for $7. That's awesome. All right, this one's going to be kind of an unfortunate. I'm going to end up going right through her eye, but oh well. Whoops, it moved on me. And so that way I end up getting one more. Okay, so now I have all these strips that I can use as a border. So I'm going to show you what I mean by as a border. And we'll go ahead and use this journal so I can get done with this journal now. I won't be finishing this one tonight, unfortunately. I wish. Do I want to put a border on that page? No, probably not. All right, we'll start on a new page. Well, it kind of would look nice though because it would pop against it. Yeah, yeah, let's do it. Who cares? It's just a journal, right? All right, so I'm not going to I'm going to chop off any excess blank space that I don't want to have. So I'm just going to chop that off. And typically I would do this with like gel medium, but I'm being a wee bit lazy tonight. Let me get my scrap piece of watercolor paper here. So I'm just going to use a glue stick for now. B, you have to have a lie down. I got more. Should I just not? Maybe I'll show you the rest of my ideas next week. What do you say? I don't want to overwhelm you. This is what taking obsessions classes is like with me. I just never seem to stop. All right, so I'm going to just border the whole, both pages, so the double page spread. Now because there's a fold here, I'm going to fold it closed. That way I know it's going to close nicely. And I'm actually only going to do one more, and then I'm going to really upset B and do something different, which I'll show you. But I really like this sort of graphic black and white look of them completely, uncolored. I guess is the right way to say that. So for me, I kind of like some of them just not doing anything with them at all as far as that goes. I just like that kind of stark graphic look. So I just literally trimmed it off and started going around again the rest of the way. All right, so that's one way you can do it. And in a way, you can still color that. Do you know what I mean? Like it definitely could still be colored in and it would kind of read and make sense. But another fun thing you can do, and I've taught this before many different times because I have a personal, it is blue until it dries. It's colored just so that you can see where you're putting it, but it goes completely clear when you're done with it. So depending on what language you speak. There we go. That's the language I speak. Okay. All right. So I've taught this many times in many different ways, but I'm gonna, do it now for the with coloring book pages. So basically, you're just cutting squares. Often I will do this for inchies. In this case, we're doing them with the coloring book page. I've done these with my doodle sheets. Now, without thinking about it as something that's going to go as a border or anything like that, you can just treat these like a little mini abstract painting, or like a little, like a little abstract study. So let's see, I'm gonna just use, I think I'm just gonna use like some colored pencils. So I'm gonna grab green and blue colored pencils, and I'm just gonna start coloring. I'm gonna go kind of quick just because I want you guys to sort of really get a feel for this. You could do this with markers, you could do this with any medium watercolor, whatever. So I'm gonna, because I know I'm going to use them together, I'm going to use the same color um, throughout. So I'm kind of creating like a color palette with it. So I'm going to go to each one and I'm just going to fill in, now this is really like coloring like when we were kids. I'm just going to fill in a random shape. I'm not worried about it meaning anything. Because I'm treating this like it's a little mini abstract painting. So I'm just going to fill in a shape. And you can do like if you're doing something small, you can do a bunch of them. So it can be repeating that color versus doing a kind of a large area with it. Whoops, it's sticking to me. And you can do as much or as little if you want. So like if you kind of like the black and white look, then maybe you choose not to color very many of them at all. All right, so I'm going to get a nice medium blue here. Let's see. All right, I got really quiet. So now I'm going to get a really dark blue. Oh, well, this is actually violet, it says anyway. So I'm going to fill in with this. Oh, yeah, that is violet, actually. Probably should be with the purples. Do you have any questions or anything? Ooh, Layla, I love that coloring book. He's going to love that. Does he already have it, or not yet? Or is it for Christmas, maybe? So like I did just a really tiny area there, but I kind of want to have a little more of this color. So I'm going to do 2 areas with this one. All right, I'm almost done, I promise. Everybody's quiet watching. You know, apparently I can't talk and color at the same time, huh? Now, obviously I'm not using colored pencils the proper way. Um, Not that I know what the proper way is, but I know enough from watching Dee Dee to know I'm probably not using them right, but it's okay. All right, so I really did want a blue, so this time I'm going to kind of read. Um, what's it with all the violets I have in here? Oh, what is this color? Violet, 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 violet. Huh. What is this one? Blue indigo. Yay, it's a blue. Okay, so the reason I wanted a blue all this time was because I wanted to kind of fade it into this one that I had over here already started. Yeah, that's what I want to do. All that just so that I can do that one little spot. All right, I'll do this over here too then. Really dark. Okay, so this is the last color I'm going to add, and everything I don't do from, other than this, I'm just going to leave undone. I'm not going to add any more color because I want to keep going. And if I don't ever stop, I'm never going to be able to show you how it looks. All right, so if this were something I was doing intentionally in my journal, I will say that I would probably get a bright pink or a really nice rich red or an orange, something warm because this is pretty cool, and put a tiny bit of it. So I think I'll do that, and then I promise I'll stop. All right, whoops. Okay, so I need a red. And I'm going to go with crimson red. So, and of course I keep putting it, putting it near the green, so now suddenly it looks Christmassy to me. I can't stop myself putting red and green together. And as soon as I do it, I go, oh, it looks like Christmas. Every time. But it definitely needs that kind of pop of red, I think. Oh, I should have done the hearts. Well, I'm going to do the hearts too. Okay. All right, so the point to all of that, Jess, are you coloring? Yeah. Except for it's better if I'm talking a little bit instead of being super quiet. then it's usually more fun if, for everyone who is watching while they work too. All right, so I mean, if you didn't know what these came from, these are really cute little abstract images. That one definitely does kind of look like an eye, but the rest don't necessarily look like much of anything. Oops, you can't see what I'm doing, can you? Sorry. There you go. So they're kind of cute all on their own. If you were into inchies, you could use them for that. If you were into like postcards, you could do a postcard, do it in a totally contrasting color, like say like a bright yellow or black even, and then you could put one or two of these down, and it would be like, really stunning and eye-catching. Um, you can do a million things with these little pieces of paper, and for some of the really detailed um, coloring book pages, the ones that for some people they just don't want to do that much coloring. I don't mind it, but I've heard some people, make comments about how they think it's just a little too much for them. Then this is a really neat way you could use those pages. So these make an awesome border, and you don't have to, worry too much about orientation. You don't have to put them in the, near each other the way they should be. Oh, I didn't get that lined up. That's way off the edge. And I'll show you something else with these too when I get them down here. And of course you could also grid them out the back of one of your coloring book pages and make actual inchies that you can then mount to a board and share. You could make artist trading cards, postcards. You can use them as scrapbook paper. Um, Pretty much anything you can do with other paper, you can, and I wonder too, I bet you can do transfers. Depending on the particular book you're using, the kind of paper they've used, the kind of ink they've used, you can probably do transfers over it. You definitely more than likely can do packing tape transfers. And you could probably do those, whether you're um, whether you've already colored it or not, you can probably do packing tape transfers with them. Make stickers out of them. There's so many things. Anything you would do with regular paper, you could do with your coloring book pages. And if you've, colored in the entire book, then, there's got to be something else you can do. Um, let's see. If I ever do things live and coloring, it's hard to talk and color. Yeah, it can be. You get used to it, I guess, after a while, but I don't really, when I'm teaching a class, I feel a lot more pressure to talk. But just doing kind of YouTube live, I feel like it's a little more relaxed, so I can have those periods of time where I say nothing, like now while I drink some tea and read chat. B, well, that's the good thing about my digital coloring book is you can do that. You can print out another one and cut it up. Yeah, okay, so once you have it down here, it still looks a little too random, kind of maybe. You might be thinking that. So I'm just going to go with a dark blue Posca, a Uni Posca, and I'm just going to come in and I'm just going to frame them out. Oops. And the quicker, and whoops, that's why you're not supposed to use um, that kind of glue and not let it dry. I'm going to be really haphazard with it, very sketchy. It looks, I think anyway, better when you kind of, miss a spot here and there. It's more interesting. And because like these over here, I missed, um, went off the edge when I glued it down. So I can just make that a feature. And you can also obviously doodle with your markers right over top of it. So like I can come in and I can take anything that I didn't get with the colored pencil, or that I feel like I want to punch up a little more. And that also, if you do that, with each one, you begin again to kind of bring continuity to it and make them all look like they go together. And that you can, it actually makes them appear more abstract when you do that. I think, like, more like it was intended to be this way. Then we took a coloring book page and cut it up. um, so yeah, you can do any type of doodling over it that you want to do. You can put acrylic paint on it, ink, whatever you want. Yep, me too. I love my Poscas. Although honestly, this is my most favorite paint marker, poster paint marker. This is fluorescent pink. It is indeed fluorescent. This is my favorite. I have been through so many of these. I would fight you for this. If someone tried to take it from me, I would fight them. So you can just also come into any wide open areas and do a little patterning. Whoops. Dots are always my favorite. And the easiest, that and line, just line work is the easiest stuff to do. And clearly, you could do that just on this other one that we've put down as a border. You can just goof around, do different patterns in different open spaces, color a few things in. Hair, this kind of hair always looks like animal print of some kind when it's in an abstract form. Anyway, I'm going to quit now before I just keep going on and on. You haven't seen these in New Zealand? Um, Send me your address. I'll send you one. Send Yeah, you're on my Facebook page, right? So send me your address on my Facebook page. I'll send you one. They're awesome. Um, all right, so let's see, what time is it? It's 8:30, 7:30 to 8:30 to 9. So I'm supposed to go until 9. The other night I got confused and thought I was supposed to go until 9:30. Um, I can't even remember my own rules. It's a good thing I make my own rules, because otherwise I'd probably be in trouble. All right, I'm going to have some more tea. All right, so those were my main ideas. Like I said, making borders, doing transfers, cutting them out, cutting them up, um, and basically just using them. The thing that drives me the most crazy is when I make art, and I speak from true I'm telling the truth here, right? These are all paintings that I've made that either I chose not to sell, I put them for sale for a little bit and they didn't sell, and so I yanked them back down. Oftentimes I put them for sale, I like them when I do, and then I go back to my web store, 2 days later or 6 months later, and I look at it and I go, what? Why does it look like that? Oh, that needs to be taken down and fixed. Um, so I do that a lot. I have a lot of this stuff. Here's the thing. I don't want these to just sit around in a drawer somewhere. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, um, it bugs me. It just bugs me. So instead, I feel the same way about the coloring books. When you color them in and they're done done, then what? Now what? You know what I mean? Like I can see if there's one or two that you really fall in love with, I can see saving them exactly as they are. I can also see taking some of them out, the ones that you feel like, I don't know, you did an amazing job on coloring that one. I can see actually taking that out and putting it in a poster frame or some type of a frame and maybe hanging it in your studio or, something like that. Um, but I don't see just stuffing them on a bookshelf and letting them sit there. Um, I just, I would want to use them. So that's why I'm trying to give you guys other ideas of ways to use them. So I kind of want to work on this other one, but I realized I had these out for a reason. So let me put all of this away. And this is the one I want to work on. But what did I do with that? Here we go, that watercolor paper. So I can show you. So I thought I would show you a sneak peek. It has glue on the other side. That's why I'm moving it around because I don't want I want to lay this down, but it has glue on it. So I thought I would do a sneak peek of what's coming. So this is the next volume of my coloring book that I'll do, and there's something on this, so it looks a little weird. Let me get a different piece of coloring or of watercolor paper here. This one's maybe a little better. Okay, so this is going to be volume 2 of my coloring book. And I want to put out there the fact that someone has been making some comments about how, um, and I'm pretty sure they're talking about my coloring book, about how, things aren't perfect. So like right here, there's a little like a little jump in the pen, or right here, the chin isn't perfectly smooth. Here's what I want to say. I am pretty open about the fact that I'm kind of the anti-perfectionist. I'm anti-perfect. Um, and that very definitely holds true for the art that I create. So I would recommend, if you expect it to be this not hand-drawn, crisp, perfect thing, don't buy mine. And I know that sounds, very, or it could anyway, come off as sounding like very full of myself or whatnot. But the truth is that I'm never going to make perfect art. I never have been able to. Um, and I don't have any desire to, so it's not going to change. Um, I'm a perfectionist in a lot of parts of my life, and my art was a place where I flatly refused to even worry about being a perfectionist. I just threw that whole ego thing right out the door when I approached art, and I like it that way. I have no stress about my art making. There's no blockage, there's no stress. I don't freak out when I sit down to make art. So that's not going to change either. And then finally is if I actually produced something that was perfect, 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 I think my students would probably kind of look at me a little funny, because all I do is preach to them. They don't have to worry about that in their art. So it would almost be like I was doing the opposite, not practicing what I preach, if I did release something that was perfect. So just saying, like, I'm not complaining, I'm not grumping at anyone, nothing like that. But I keep hearing the same person say this stuff, and my advice to her would be, please stop looking at my stuff, because it's never going to make you happy. All right, I'm going to stop really quick and try to address B. No, and Layla, this is just water based. This is just poster paint, water based in fluorescent pink. It's just a Sharpie poster paint marker. You can get these in Michaels and probably a few other art retailers, art and craft retailers, and you definitely can get these online at Jet Pens, JETPENS.com. I'm pretty sure that's where I can buy them. This is my favorite one. And the uni Poscas, those I get from jetpens.com as well. And because it's hard to get those sometimes, because um, they're not manufactured in America, but Jet Pens carries them, and they do have a fluorescent pink. I will say it's nice, it's similar, it's not the same. And I'm talking about color. I'm not talking about how the pen functions. I'm not talking about the ink and how it performs. I'm specifically talking about the fluorescent part of it. This is the perfect color to me. May not be for you, it is to me. Okay, so this is page 1 of volume 2, and this is, whoops, they're stuck together. This is page 2 of volume 2, and I'm going to, I think, do a little more work on this one. I left the hair, the top of the hair open in my original drawing, and I really liked it, but I'm not sure it reads well in the coloring book page part of it. So I may do something here. I'm probably not going to put a line across the top, but what I might do is put some line work in between the words or something. We'll see. Um, and it's interesting because it basically says, I see your actions and ignore your empty words to my advantage. That's kind of what I was talking about with the perfection thing. Oh gosh. All right, volume 2, whoops, page 3. This particular volume was supposed to be released around the time of Halloween. That's how far off the mark I have been. My life's been kind of crazy. So that is why it has a little bit of weird, scary images and says things like death. I'm not, not trying to scare anyone, um, but I definitely was at the time intending to release it around that period of time. So everything was supposed to have a little bit of a slightly scary element. Now, did you see how long it took the camera to focus? It has an attitude tonight. Um, so yeah, so hopefully no one's put off by that, but I can't really. I'd have to rework this to take it off of there, and I kind of don't want to. So it is what it is. All right, so before I take that one away, I'm going to slide the new one on. Maybe that'll help it keep it from acting so weird. So I think that was 3, so this one will be page 4 of volume 2. And this one will be page 5. Oh darn, I didn't do that well, did I? And you may or may not have noticed at this point that these are definitely derived directly from my art journal. So another reason I think why they're never going to be perfect, because I'm not perfect in my art journal. Okay, so that's what I say. Did I say that was 5? So this one will be page 6. And if you were ever interested in having a double paged spread, that's kind of what this is, because these were a double page spread in my art journal. So they do really kind of go together, although they're created obviously, separately as coloring book pages. They do work well together. So there you go. And now we're going to try. I'm going to get rid of all this bright white. Oh, too late. Camera already picked up on that. So now we're gonna play around with this one a little bit. Now I have put the original away. Not away, but it's not on the camera. Um, but I will try to pull it back again before we're done, just to see how well we did. And I'm probably going to run over tonight. I hope no one minds. Um, so, but I do kind of want to get this um, done. So before I add any more color, I want to kind of glue this in. Hi, Pat. You said my voice is fading out. Well, I have a headset on, so I'm not really sure, and it's stationary. And I have a sneak kitty again. What are you doing, Peach? You can't stay there. Look, she'd be perfectly happy to just stay right there. Could you guys learn while Peach hides on the middle of the table? What are you doing, honey? Peachy. Peachy, what are you doing? What are you doing? Are you having fun? All right, you gotta go. Come here, sweetheart. Anyway, Pat, I'm sorry. I'm not really sure what more to do. I can see my stream health is a little bit down. Um, Hi, Miranda. I did hook up to a straight connection, not on Wi-Fi, and my computer freaked out. So I just am on Wi-Fi again. I probably need to figure that out, but to be honest with you, I need to upgrade to Windows 10, and I'm really afraid to do that. Um, in past, sometimes when you upgrade to new versions of Windows, A, you can't go back, and B, other software stops working. So I'm scared to do it. So, and I don't think I'm going to fix the Wi-Fi problem until be able to until I upgrade. Um, oh, everyone's saying hi to Peach. Yeah, she thinks she's the star of the show. Thanks, Adele. Hi, Mac Chick. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and glue this in. Let's see here. I think I'm just going to put it right on the back of this page. And it happens to be, oops, it happens to be the right size. So hopefully it'll fit well. And now I'm debating, because if I use matte medium, I'm going to have to wait for it to dry. I'm just going to use glue. So I'm just going to use glue stick, and I'll probably just, if it comes loose, I'll come back later and lift it up and use a better glue. But for the purposes of tonight, I'm just going to get it glued in there. Now I did, because this was, the front of it has watercolor and stuff on it, so I did use a spray fixative over it earlier tonight before the show started. So, oops. Hopefully getting the back of it wet and everything won't, pose too much trouble of a problem. And I'm an over gluer, I think. So just bear with me while I over glue this. Alright, so now I'm just going to make sure I hit all my edges. Very sticky. And that's a good thing. Oops. Alright, I need to get a card. Alright, so so I need to follow my own advice and start in the center and work my way out. So I stopped doing that. There we go. No wrinkles now to speak of. Alright. So now we can start working with this. Now there's a variety of ways that we can kind of work on it. I think I'm going to use, because this paper isn't watercolor paper, over gluer. Yeah, I don't know what that's not even a cool word, but Pat, I used to have a setting. Let me look. Now, every time I touch this device, uh, I end up causing sound problems. So let's see if it'll let me even look at it while I'm talking to you guys. Audio delay. No, I do. Oh, silence detection. Okay, I do not have that stuff turned on. Okay, the last time I did a live stream, I did have silence detection turned on. So every time it would get quiet, the voice would drop out, which might be what you're experiencing, but I have no idea why you would be experiencing it, because I actually have that feature turned off. But let me check and make sure there's not anywhere else it could be set, just to be sure. Nope, I don't see it set anywhere. So hopefully I'm not lying to you. Um, and I apologize, but as far as I can tell, I have it turned off. All right, more tea, sorry. Miranda, your kitty's sick right now? What's wrong? Poor kitty. I love kitties. Hi, Nordic Pink. New people I don't know. Or maybe, you've been here before and this is the first time you're commenting. Yeah, B, I do. I have it's on my fingers. I can feel it there. I don't care. All right, so I can do a bunch of different things. I can do my favorite thing to do, which is just to use white acrylic ink. This is just the De La Rowney FW white acrylic. It's practically empty. The lid has this on there because the first thing I did, like the first day or two I had it, was drop it on the ground and smash the lid. So I just put washi tape on it to tape it up. Washi tape is the um, art journal artist's version of duct tape. Um, if you get wrinkles, who said that? Judy. If you get wrinkles, the absolute key to it is cover your whatever, whether you're doing the paper or you're doing what you're gluing down. Cover it with the glue. If you're using liquid glue, and by that I mean like something wet like this or the Eileen's or whatever. Um, Use the card on the wet glue to spread the glue out first, then place it down on your substrate, wipe your card off, and then flatten it out. But the key to it is that you gently lay it down, but you don't press, because like that's what I see people do. They put it on there, they press all over, and then they get the card and they try to smooth it out. And if you've got any trapped air in between places where your hands and fingers made, connection, you're going to get a wrinkle. So just gently put it down. And this is do as I say, not as I do, because I didn't do this right the first time earlier. Um, but also too, the reason you do that is because if you don't press it down and you do have a wrinkle, you can do what I did. If you noticed, I lifted it back up, so that I was able to kind of undo the wrinkle. So you start from the very absolute center of whatever your piece is. So kind of imagine there's, a circle here. Go to the very center of it. Go a little ways, a little ways, a little ways out in every direction. It's almost like a clock, hand going around the clock. Next time you can just go a little further and a little. What you're doing is pressing all the air and bubbles out, like this, and you won't get any trapped, and so then you won't get any wrinkles. And now I say that, however, paper napkin, tissue paper, you're bound to get some wrinkles here and there. Also, different types of paper. Magazine paper is a really good example. The really thin magazine paper, it wrinkles and it bows and it does all kinds of weird stuff no matter what you do. So sometimes it's not your fault. Sometimes it's just the medium, and then that's when you just got to learn to embrace it. Um, oh, he ate something. Oh, a filter or fabric. Oh, that's not good. Um, did he eat a lot of it, or just a little, and it just made his tummy ache? For most of the time, if it's liquidy, I will use some kind of a brush to put it down. If it is not liquidy, so like not liquidy, that's just a technical term, right? Hang on a second. If it's more like this, so it's more like a gel, then I use some type of a paint spreader to apply it to the substrate, to whatever I'm going to glue. And then it's always, absolutely always better to use a card for spreading it out, in for the final spreading out of the substrate. It's definitely best to use this. And the reason is because you get a nice smooth um, transition. And that's for B. You're welcome, Judy. Well, keep an eye on him. Depending on what he ate and how much of it he ate, it can get caught in his intestines, and he'll not be able to pass it, and that can be very, very, very life-threatening. But if you only got a tiny bit of it, um, just keep an eye on him and make sure he doesn't become dehydrated and and or have a bad reaction to it. Poor baby. Give him lots of kisses. All right, so I could use the white acrylic ink. That's my favorite thing to use. Um, I could use, and this is something, wonder where my big one is. I have a giant one of these, but oh, here it is. See, I started to say I have no idea where it is, but I lied. All right, so I'm going to tell you, the first time I saw someone use one of these, and oh, yeah, he ate a lot of it. Yeah. Do you have any um, grass that that he can eat? Because that will help him to vomit. Oh, it's actually not a credit card. It's this was like a gift card. See how it like says $50? So this was like a gift card someone sent to me. I mean, I used my gift card part of it long, long time ago. It was completely empty. But yeah, I know what you're saying, B. um, all right, so the first time I saw someone use this, it was actually an artist who was using it like on a big canvas, and I was like, OMG, I have to have it. So this is a normal, let's see, does it medium point? So this is the normal medium point tip, and this one is called, what's it called? An extra bold. Look at that sucker. I love this thing. Um, but the reason I got it is because the way I use these pens, and I know some people have picked up on it now because I'm starting to see other artists do it too. But the reason I bought it is because of the way I was using these pens back when I taught a class called Marker Mayhem. I was using these pens at the time anyway, was a very unique way, which was using them for smoothing out skin tone and kind of maybe like creating skin tone basically. So for this, it looks very flat. So I can come in with this marker and I can start applying it, and it doesn't dry 100% opaque. That's what's so gorgeous about it. And you can just kind of spread it with your fingers. And because this was watercolor, it picks up a little bit of that color. So you get a nice smooth transition, and it doesn't, it's not quite so stark because it picks up a little bit of the color that's down there for the skin tone. And here's the trick that I taught, part of what I was teaching with Marker Mayhem. And this is just stuff I kind of figure out on my own by goofing around like we're doing right here. Um, was that it marker blends, especially if well, no, it doesn't matter the substrate. Marker blends if it's any kind of a India ink or Crayola or not an alcohol based, but the other markers, they blend the same way the watercolor is here. They kind of soak up a little bit, especially if they're fresh, um, like put down that day or whatnot. They will blend as well. So basically, I was teaching people how to, this concept or this idea. So, and so that's pretty much all I'm doing is just using this so that I can get a variety of tones. So it was really kind of flat before, and now it's got a little bit of dimension going on. And again, just like with everything, you can layer it. So I can let this kind of dry. So I'm going to work over here on the arm for a minute. And I'll do it just a little bit, although this arm is really kind of in the shadows. Um, but you can work on or wait for this to dry. You can work on the arm. Duh, what am I saying? Uh, So anyway, I got the really giant one. I'm kind of trying to wait for this to dry so I can do another layer. But I got the really giant one because I can do a whole face. You know, like when I draw a bigger face, I can do a whole face in like a second with this big old marker, um, as compared to the little tiny um, fine bullet tip. Again, jetpens.com is pretty much where I buy all of my Sharpie markers. I buy all my markers pretty much from there. jetpens.com. Here, I'll type it in. Uh-oh, it's not typing in there. Where is it typing at? There we go. Okay. So now that it's had a second to dry, I'm actually going to go to the smaller one. And you can't see it, but when I was pressing down on the big one, a bunch of ink came out. So I'm just going to pick some of that ink up. So now I can kind of get a little bit detailed, and I can go in and do the whites of her eyes. And like I said, it doesn't dry completely opaque, because it is a, the poster pen. So that's actually a benefit. So I'm going to kind of come in and just, build a little dimension in those irises of her eyes. And then again, you can layer. So I can put more of this over it. And this time, instead of spreading it all out, I'll just kind of dab at it. And that way, a little more of it will stay there. It won't blend quite as much. You'd be surprised at how many layers of this you can kind of get away with. The trick, the real true trick, is letting it dry in between so that you don't cause the paper to kind of peel up. Remember, this is just cheap um, uh, what do I want to call it? Copy paper or printer paper. What are you guys talking about? Is the lagging really bad? You typed in the link, came up before you typed in the video. Time warp. Yep. Um, Again, I probably should have tried to upgrade the, I'll try it before the next one. I'm just afraid to do it because this computer is the computer I do everything on as far as like video processing, and I really don't want to have something bad happen to it, just because I was trying to get rid of lag on the stream. You know what I mean? And then I can't make any videos, and then everyone who expects videos for classes hunts me down at my house and strangles me. So I'm a little bit scared to upgrade, but I will check into doing it. Anyway, I'm going to stop now. But like I said, you can do this multiple times. Just make sure you let it dry in between. The biggest problem I find people experience, and I'm speaking from a place of been there, done that. Let stuff dry. I used to ruin every Sharpie marker I could get my hands on because I tried to use it over damp paper, damp paint, damp whatever. If there's, like there's two things I can impart to new people. Well, three things, four things. All right. Art Journaling Newbie 101. There are no rules. Art Journaling Newbie 101. Two would be let shit dry. Sorry for cussing, but seriously, let it dry. Even if you have to let it dry overnight, let stuff dry. The single most biggest mistake I made, and frustration I had as a new person, was not letting things dry and not realizing that that's why my supplies weren't working the way I expected them to. Um, so I gave you two of them. The third one, regardless of what anyone tells you, do what makes you happy, even if doing what makes you happy appears to be completely against the flow. It's one, two, three, four, and now the fourth one escapes me. Turn the computer off. Don't look at other people's stuff, including mine, and make your own art. So many people talk about wanting to find their own style. So many people talk about wanting to make, whatever they like to draw, faces, flowers, whatever it is, um, making it better. And they get frustrated and they quit and they get blocked and all that stuff. And it's all comparison. Stop. Comparison is the thief of joy. It straight up is. It happens even to me if I spend too much time looking at other people's stuff. It's not to say you shouldn't ever look at other people's stuff. Of course you should. But when you start to feel a little vulnerable, when you start to feel, because before it actually makes you feel bad, you get that feeling that I feel a little uncomfortable right now, or I feel a little awkward. That's when you stop looking at other people's stuff for a while. Um, and if you do those things, you will find your style because you'll be forced to, because you're not looking at anyone else's. You're just doing, and in the doing is where finding the style comes from. It's also where improvement comes from, and everything comes from the doing. Okay, so yep, the first rule of journaling, there are no rules. The second rule is there are no rules. Yep, exactly. With the exception of safety. The only thing that I, really and truly pay attention to is if someone tells me don't do something because it will hurt you. Like, for instance, doing different things that will harm your lungs. You only get these lungs. That's it. So you don't want to go messing with that. And then there are products that are very clearly, I have some, like I love the cadmium paints. And although I think most of the cadmium paints nowadays aren't made with real cadmium, um, that stuff is bad for you. So there are products that we use and don't think about all the time that are harmful to us. So you just kind of have to, where it comes to safety, pay attention. Everything else, don't even listen to what I tell you unless it works for you. If what I tell you works for you, do it. Um, Haley, there's a program that allows you to ghost your computer. Um, oh, and he does it every time before he upgrades. That's an idea. I really hadn't thought about ghosting it. That's a very good idea. I generally definitely do a backup onto one of my external hard drives. So, but yeah, I probably have to upgrade so that I can fix the issues with it so that I can then, which, it's hilarious that generally people have a hard time with their computer with getting their Wi-Fi to work, right? But plugging in a hard line, an analog line is usually not the problem. I have the opposite problem. Yeah, it allows you to go back to a restore point. Yeah. Yeah, comparison. Yeah, and and comparison also too, like if you get caught up in it and you start doing it, then the next thing you know, you're waiting for whoever you're comparing yourself to, or comparing your art to. You're sitting around waiting for them to put out more art so that you can compare yourself to it and see where you are and adjust your path accordingly. Now that's not to say you don't fall in love with someone else's work, don't become obsessed with someone else's work in the pursuit of finding your own style. I.e., in other words, um, I can sometimes find another artist's work and really, really love it, and for a little while play with it in my art journal. Um, I did that with, I took Marianne Moss, I took her, I think she calls it summer school. It was a class where she taught um, about patterning. Now, this was before I really did no patterning to speak of. I mean, I did a little bit here and there, but not like I do now, before I took that class. So there was a period of time when I was looking at her work, deciding if I was going to take the class, then the period of time while I was taking the class, and as well the period of time, probably a week or two after I took it, that I was still kind of incubating everything that she taught. Um, so at that point in time, throughout that point of time, was I a little obsessed with her and with patterning and what she was teaching? And yeah, totally. And that's absolutely okay. And if someone, is your teacher, That's different. I'm talking about your fellow, like, your friends that you see on Facebook or people who post art on Instagram. Like, I follow a lot of um, surreal fine art artists on Instagram. If I spent too much time looking at what they post, I would close up my journals and close down my computer and walk away and go find something else to do for, the rest of my life because I don't think, some of those people have been drawing for 30 years and I'm never going to, maybe ever get there. I'm certainly going to keep playing and trying, but I'm just not going to compare myself to them. And that's the difference, It's when you actually start looking at what they produce and getting upset with yourself because you can't produce that yet. Or you see them do something and you're like, oh, why didn't I think of that? And it's not a, oh, why didn't I think of that in a positive, you're kind of happy for them because they thought of it way. It's that, I hate them because they thought of it and I didn't. That's kind of when you head down that dark place. That's when you need to get off of there. You're stalking me. Well, Denise, you have a total 100% permission to stalk me because you are a student. That's what I mean by that. So, like when I was, her student, Marianne's student, I'm pretty sure she wanted me to, you know, get my my money's worth out of her class and, totally kind of copy the stuff she was showing us. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, I owe her so much because if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't have, I mean, I was doing stencils that were very, pattern oriented, but just feeling completely free to just freehand a pattern right into a journal page, I was not able to do that. Um, and it's not like she taught some really great concept of how to draw a doodle. It was her awesome enthusiasm about it and her just kind of the, um, she's not a cheerleader kind of person. She's just like, I don't know, she's just cool, I guess. Um, but it was just her way of talking about it and showing you her stuff and what she was doing that just really made you want to do it too. So, yeah, I'm sure I was stalking her for a while without a doubt. And I don't think she cared. Layla's totally a Christy stalker. Bye, Haley. Have a wonderful weekend. Ooh, Bond movies. Awesome. Oh, he's home on leave. It sounds like he's probably a soldier. That's cool. Yes, I have read The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron. I sure have. Although I didn't do all of it. In other words, I read everything, but when it came to the artist dates, I was like, well, I kind of already do those in my in my own little way anyway, and I kind of got off track at that point. Not to say that I, didn't want to go any further. I just got distracted and didn't get back to it. All right, so this is pretty much, I can still feel that it's wet, so I don't think I'm going to get it, done tonight. But basically, you can use anything to come back in over this, including watercolor. And the reason you can use watercolor over the poster paint pen is because it's very matte. It actually will soak in. Oh, he's in the Air Force. Awesome. My father-in-law was in the Air Force too. Tell him thank you for his service, for what he does for everyone. Um, anyway, so you can go over it, and if it's still a little bit wet, then it'll mix with the skin tone. If it's really good and dry, you can just layer skin tone right over it. And up to a certain point, either the Sharpie or even this acrylic ink is going to let you put watercolor over it. So you can do that. You can also do colored pencil, marker, so many other different things. Um, YouTube is great for reminding us not to compare and to follow our own path. Is that what you mean? I think it says YLT, but I think you mean YouTube. Um, yeah. I think we get caught up in it. And it's, I mean, I'm mostly preaching to, like newbies, people who are new. It's so easy. Well, actually, no. I mean, like, it still happens to me, even. Like I said, like, I follow this one artist on Instagram. Let me see if I can pull it up. His work is just, oh my goodness. Um, I want to be him, you know what I mean? There's quite a few actually that I follow like that, but let me see if I can find him. I think I have that spelled right. Yeah. All right, so I'm just going to show you as best I can on my phone. I'll show you his work. There you go. Look at that. I mean, seriously, his work is so amazing. Look at that. Oh, oh, oh. Isn't that just, I mean, I literally love just about everything he does. Pretty much everything he puts out there, I'm in love with it. I love that. She is so awesome. If I compared myself, I mean, look at what I got down going on down here. Look at what he's got going on right here. If I compared myself to that and said, okay, how do I rate? Or, especially if I had like, which I don't clearly, any kind of a lack of self-confidence. I think I have a little too much confidence in myself. Um, but if I had any kind of a lack of confidence or, like I was shaky with it, that kind of, over comparison could really set me back. You know what I mean? So I just don't, I love this right here. This I love. I would like to get my work to that point where it has that finished yet totally unfinished yet completely freaking cool look to it. And see, he's very surrealist, and I love that. That's my favorite thing. So, I mean, you can clearly see why I love, his work so much. Who is the artist? His name is Craw, but honestly, I can never remember um, what his actual name is. And he's so cool. You know what his tagline is for Instagram? Um, I draw things. Oh, I mean, he's just so laid back and cool. Let's see if it'll tell me his information. Well, it says Facebook. Do 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 do. Craw artist. All right, it still isn't telling me what his name is. Anyway, you can find him on Instagram. It's CRAWW on Instagram. I know his name. I've looked him up before. Well, obviously, but I have actually read about him and stuff, but I just can't remember. Let me click on about. All right, self-taught artist and habitual doodler. I live and work in Sheffield, UK. So he's from the UK. Drawing inspiration from daydreams, music, comics, nature, gin, and an overactive imagination. Such a cool guy. Doesn't say his full name, just says Craw. I mean, I'm sure probably somewhere you can find out. Um, he doesn't have a CV. No. All right. Well, anyway, it doesn't say, but you can find him there. It's his website is craww.bigcartel.com. Oh, Jeffer says he has, Jeffer knows who it is. She says he has a website, craw.com. Anyway, literally, I love everything he makes. There's quite a, I probably have like I want to say 4 or 5 people on Instagram that are like this. I aspire to follow people who are where I want to get to. And sometimes, over the years, I've actually gotten to where that person is. Um, so then I go out and I find more people, and I always try to like follow people who are already where I want to get. And I remember that's why I'm following them. Do you know what I mean? Like I remind myself, I'm following this person um, because they're where I aspire to go. So I use them as, journey inspiration. I don't use their work as inspiration. That's the wrong way to say it. But I use where, in other words, I use them like heroes, right? So they're kind of like little, these people are probably like don't even, um, wouldn't even care. But anyway, art heroes, that's kind of how I look at it. These are the people that are where, with their work that I want to be as far as skill and, talent and that type of thing. Well, not talent, but um, success with what they've learned to do, they can do. All right, so I've rattled and prattled on for far too long. Um, so there's a million other things you can do with this. I think I will finish the rest of this, but I'll probably do a YouTube video for you guys, so that we don't have to wait all the way until next week. And you can see this get finished because there's, plenty more to do. And like I said, I'll show you where I want to eventually get to, which is kind of like this. So like I need to change the lighting because it's really bright light all around here. So I have a lot of work to do to get this one to look like this one. But we're getting there. We're going to start. So thank you so much, everyone, for being here tonight and asking me awesome questions and all the talking and chit chat. Um, does anyone have any final questions before I go? I hope you had a lovely Thanksgiving if you celebrate Thanksgiving or you're from America. And or the United States, I guess I should be saying that properly. Um, I hope you have a lovely weekend. I'm totally like off even on the fact that it's Friday. I keep thinking it's like Saturday or Sunday. That's what happens when I actually get a day off. I get completely confused. Oh, I'm sorry you missed some of it, B. Well, it'll be on when it's done processing. It has to process for like an hour or so on YouTube, but as soon as it's done processing, I will post it so you can go back in. You're welcome, Mac Chick. Hi, Vicky. Thank you. Hi, Tina. Thank you. Thank you, Layla. Thank you, Jafra. Thank you. Thank you, Micah. Thanks, Adele. All right, guys, I'm out of here. I will see you on the internet. Oh, don't forget, by the way, I did create a Facebook group for anyone who's on Facebook. It's just for talking about the stuff we talk about here on the live show, sharing photos, chit-chatting about art. You can find the direct link to it from my Facebook page, or you can just type in, I think it's called Gulf Sprite Space Live, and you can join everyone there. So there's a bunch of people that come to the show every week that are hanging out in there. Um, Oh, it's your first time watching, Jess? Well, welcome to the show. I'm here every Friday night. Pink Stamper Girl, it's Brianna. Did I write that down before? All right, let me check before I go. Because if I don't check before I go, then sometimes I can't go back and read the chat for some reason. So, Pink Stamper Girl. Let me write that down. Is Brianna. I think you've told me this before, but this time I really, for real, wrote it down. Oh, you're the one that's from Southwest Florida. Awesome. Yep, us Florida girls got to band together. All right, see you guys later. And then I say that, and then I go over to the software and it doesn't turn off. So I just sit here waiting for it to turn off.